reality of wrestling. We teach television, television, television. This is Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, Phantom of the Opera. You got to be able to encore, Bravo. We're looking for that kind of stuff. So, no, man, it's amazing what we have to work with right now.
What's going on, guys? John Alba here from the Takedown on SI, and we are chatting with the WWE Hall of Famer himself, Booker T, and we're previewing WWE LFG Legends and Future Greats, which premieres on Sunday, February 16th on A&E. Booker, thanks so much for hopping on the Takedown here on Sports Illustrated. Really appreciate your time, man. I feel like you've just been going nonstop lately between NXT and this show and your own stuff. How are you keeping up these days?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I turned 60 on the 1st. And these old bones, it just seem to keep moving. It's been like a snowball going downhill since day one, and this bitch just keep getting bigger and bigger. And now, doing the stuff with A&E. It's, it seemed like I've been the face of A&E from the beginning with the Treasures, and now, with WWE LFG, and Rivals and all that stuff. It's been so cool. But no, man, long as I'm smiling, long as I got my health, I'm gonna push it till the wheels fall off, man.
Let me ask you, what appealed to you most about the LFG concept in the first place when you were approached about it?
Coaching, being able to teach, which is something I've been doing now for 20 years. I started my wrestling school back in 2005 and 2025 now. And I realized that's my true calling, I think, is being able to mentor, teach, cultivate these young people that want to get into this business, to teach them how to do it the proper way. And now, being able to compete against, my peers, Mickie James, Bubba Ray, and, the Undertaker. That's the ultimate, you know what I mean? That's what appealed to me more than anything, the competition factor between my peers, as well as the 16 that's going to be a part of this.
I want to own in a little more on that competition with your peers, especially the Undertaker in particular, someone you've known for the past 25 plus years. But, we haven't, as the casual audience, as the masses, seen him in a role like this before in public. Really only the past couple of years has we seen the dead man persona kind of fade away, and now he's being a little more authentically himself. So what can people expect when they see someone like him in a coaching role?
I mean, he's as real as he possibly could be in this role. He's as serious as he he's probably the most serious guy in this whole damn thing, man. Because you don't want to tick him off. You don't want to, crowd him or get too close in his space, because he'll bark at you. He'll bite a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I'm seeing him in this setting, but he's passionate about what he's doing with his kids, which for me is very, very unique to see Undertaker in this role. To see his coaching style as well. Because, like I said, I've been doing it for 20 years. This is his first time actually in a coaching setting, a coaching role like this. How well will he actually do? Because my thing is, I'm like, man, this guy can't. I mean, come on, just because you know how to do it, don't mean you can coach it. So he's doing a hell of a job, and people are going to get a chance to see the real Undertaker at his finest. Teaching the next generation, of superstars.
You just said something great there. It's just like, you can be great at something, but that doesn't necessarily make you a good coach. And so many times we see these high profile athletes try to get into coaching and it doesn't work out. And then you'll have a backup catcher, a career backup catcher, who goes on to win 3 World Series as a manager. So I'm curious, from your standpoint, what makes a great wrestling coach, especially within the confines of the NXT developmental system?
You just said it yourself, about that catcher just sitting on the bench, that he may not have even played in the game, but he was on the team. He might have been on the team for 3 years. He may have been studying that coach for 3 years, realizing what it takes to actually, when you get to the dance, how do you cash in? How do you take it all the way? That's the way great coaches are made. I don't think too many people know about Bill Belichick's playing career. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't know it, but trust me, he played on the team that got to the dance. He didn't, by osmosis, figure it out. He didn't slip on a banana peel and figure it out. Everybody that's a part of LFG, Mickie James, Bubba Ray, myself, and The Undertaker, we all have worked at that next level, and we know what it means and we know what it takes to make it at that next level. And hopefully we can guide you to that next level.
Mickie is the one I'm really excited to see on this show because I've always held such high regard for her and how she's carried herself throughout her career and the accomplishments that she's been able to notch in her resume. What does she bring to the show in her approach to coaching?
Well, I mean, Mickie James, you can't question her resume. You can't do that. Mickie James has always been one to know how to, you know, stay in the party. She's always been around the main event. And the thing is, even if she wasn't the main event, she may be working with the person that's in the main event. As well as she's worked at every level and every aspect of the card. She's worked at the bottom of the card, middle of the card, as well as the top of the card. Her expertise is just as vast as Bubble Ray, myself, as well as The Undertaker. You cannot question that, not one bit. And sitting and listening to her, and the world is going to get a chance to see it. Some of the stuff, I'm like, man, I wish I would have said that. Man, I wish I'd have came with that because she's seen life from a totally different perspective than all of us. And that's what perspective that I think she brings to the table.
You can coach talent and you can try to structure someone and how they go about doing something in the ring, but there are so many other intangibles with pro wrestling that come to the forefront, forming that bond with the fans, bringing out that entertainment aspect. You're someone who knows that super well. Sure, you could go in the ring, but then you could be King Booker on the next given moment. So, how do you go about imparting that on some of these young talent as they're just starting to get their feet wet?
Well, first thing I tell them, my school is a performing arts school. We if you want to learn wrestling, you go to the MMA school down the street. I try to teach my kids to go out there and think about the moves are one thing, but what you do before and what you do after. That's what Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet is. The small things. The small things are so very important. It's like taking an engine apart and putting it back together. Every piece got to be done the exact same way. So I tell my students about that, about those little bitty things. I try to talk to my students about you don't want to have to do anything that you can't do 10 times out of 10 times. You got to be able to do it out of your sleep. You know what I mean? Somebody wake you up in the morning, you got to be able to perform it. So you got to be able to put yourself in the best position you possibly. So that's what my philosophies are, my coaching styles are, to try to get them to think about the smallest things that they possibly can. That way they don't have to think as much. That way they're not putting themselves out there too far, especially in the beginning, because it's the most complicated thing one could ever do in front of a live crowd. Go out and try to make a fan feel, not see, but feel to the point a real tear wells up and falls down the cheek. That's amazing.
It is performing art. And it's fascinating when I look at the description for the show. I see the trailers, I see the clips, and there are so many parallels, Booker, to a show that you're no doubt familiar with yourself, which is Tough Enough, which was such an institution for WWE for so many years. How does LFG differentiate itself from Tough Enough?
I think being able to see so much more than just the competition in ring, challenges, stuff like that. You're going to get a chance to see the emotion, the real, true, raw emotion, to where there again, so many people wonder about wrestling, but seeing it from this perspective, they're gonna perhaps second guess and go, wow, this is something totally different than I perceived it to be for so many years. It's going to make those fans that perhaps was sitting on the fence about coming watch a show. They're going to go, man, let me go check this out, as well as the warrior that's out there that that has it in him is going to motivate them to want to get up off the sofa and say, man, let me get it in and try some of this. I want to test myself to see how good or how far I can really go. That's what this thing is all about.
Did anything stand out about this group of athletes, this group of trainees that came in for the show to you?
Everything stood out. Everybody is working and everybody's worked so hard. But it just shows me that, no matter, how much work you put in with this, it's really, really hard to pick it up. Some that I never thought would pick it up, some that I thought would be out immediately has excelled, and I go, wow, but that's wrestling right there. You really cannot judge a book by its cover with a professional wrestler, with the one that wants it the most. You cannot do it. You really can't, and that's what's been so unique for me to see, who's risen out of the ashes.
I'd love to hear your perspective on this then, as someone who's been within the industry for so long, someone who's been training for so long, to coaching trainees rather. WWE right now has two very distinct avenues to acquiring prospects. You've got the NIL side, where you're taking in all these great collegiate athletes, people who have had success outside of the world of pro wrestling. And then you have this WWID concept and looking at some of the independent wrestling circuit and bringing in people from there. Do you find that either one has an advantage or a disadvantage over the others? And how do you go about melding that within the system?
Well, advantage, disadvantage. Advantage from the NIL program, these are college athletes. These guys, they look a certain way. They're primed and bred, to go out and compete. And I think that's why the NIL students have excelled the way they have, because they're born athletes. We just have to teach them, how to go out and perform, professional wrestling, and they've picked it up so quick. And then I look at the ID program. As far as the independent guys that's out there, there's so many of them. It's so many of them. So it's a disadvantage, but an advantage in a certain way. To whereas the guy that's in that ID program, he's going to shine. He's going to shine like new money, just because there's so many independent wrestlers out there that have been taught independent wrestling, and the NIL guys are getting taught television wrestling.
Mm.
That's the difference, So that independent guy that can figure out television wrestling, he's going to excel very, very quickly.
Is that what you guys are trying to do with LFG? Are you trying to find that mix and be able to very easily present television wrestling in a digestible way for some of these talent?
I think so. I think so. Trying to get them to learn it from the beginning.
Okay.
That's really, really hard for a lot of young talent out there, especially like I say on the independent scene. They're not learning television wrestling, and then when they do get a tryout, they're not going to look as good as the guy that has been working from that perspective. That's why at Reality Wrestling we teach television, television, television. This is Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, Phantom of the Opera. You got to be able to encore, Bravo. We're looking for that kind of stuff. So no, man, it's amazing what we have to work with right now, and it's so vast. We have so much talent to work with right now, more so than we've ever had in all of my 30 years.
Is someone like Roxanne Perez, someone you've worked with for so long, who starts at that indie level and then becomes a great television wrestler, is she kind of the mold for what you guys are striving for with some of these LFG potential talent here?
She is. She's exactly what we're striving for, as far as coming in and picking it up. But Roxanne Perez, she started learning television wrestling at 16 years old. That's all she's known is working television. She's worked out there on the independent scene for a second, but all she's known is television wrestling, and I think that's why she's had such a great rise in WWE, is because I watch her, and it's the small little bitty things that her and I talked about so many times, and it's kind of crazy because she comes back to me on a well, she would come back to me on a weekly basis and go, what did you see? And I go, and I couldn't see anything. Let's try next week. She come again, and I didn't see anything. So she's gotten to the point to where I can't find the weaknesses, the bad spots. So that's what I think what we're trying to work with and get to the point with these young guys to where they can learn it, get comfortable with it, because it is very technical. It is very difficult.
How proud of her are you that she's about to be seemingly making the transition to the main
Oh
roster
man,
here?
I'm a proud dad, man. But I just wanted to get there at the right time. I really think, I mean, at the Rumble, she shocked and amazed. I really think her future is so bright. When she gets to the main roster, she's really going to prove how good she really truly is from a performance standpoint, because that's what this business has always been based around. This business has always been based on how good you are inside that squared circle. No one can take that away from you. And I say that because that's why I always put my career in the hands of how good I was, in my performances, and it could be the smallest performance. I tell all of my students, Roxanne Perez, even your losses got to be better than your wins. It's the smallest things. It's as small as that is what make the best, the greatest professional wrestlers in this business.
You can find Booker T as one of the coaches on WWE LFG Legends and Future Greats, premiering Sunday, February 16th, 8 o'clock Eastern on A&E. I'm going to leave you with this question, Booker. What do you think fans and wrestling fans are going to be most surprised by when they watch the show?
Man, they're going to be surprised how hard it is to get into the sport, how hard it is to go through the training, but they're gonna realize how much love it is at the same time for this sport, not just for the 16, but for Bubba Ray, Mickie James, and myself and the Undertaker. We are a very unique foursome, and we all come from you know totally different places in this business, but we have come together now to try to create something very special. And the bond that you see with us is going to be very dynamic. Also, especially between Bubba Ray and I, a guy who was a pretty good tag team wrestler, as well as but I don't put him on my level, but that's another story.
We gonna see any tables on the show?
You might.
Okay. All right. There's a good tease there. Well, today the S in the takedown on SI stands for Shucky Ducky Quack Quack.
Check it,
Booker
check it,
T.
quack, quack.
Really appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much.